I got the call Tuesday that an incredible painting by one of my favorite artists was going to be on display just a few hours from my home. So of course, I rearranged my schedule, hopped in the car, and now, 48 hours later, I'm sitting in front of this magnificent piece by Sam Gilliam. So what is it about this painting, and this artist in general, that would cause me to drive 4 hours just so I could spend some time with it? Well, let's talk about it. Art lovers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christopher West, and this is the place where we talk about modern and contemporary art and design. And today I am super excited to talk about Sam Gilliam. I've driven to DC to see his work. I've driven to Louisville to see his work. And now I'm here in St. Louis to spend some time with this very special painting. I have a print by Gilliam hanging in my bedroom, and I've been fortunate enough to sell a number of his prints and works on paper over the years. But these drape paintings are special and helped redefine what painting can be. Gilliam was born in Mississippi in 1933. He grew up and studied art and painting in Kentucky. While studying painting at the University of Louisville, he became interested in the work of the German expressionists Paul Klee and Emil Nolde. And while serving in the army and stationed in Japan, he was introduced to the work of Yves Klein. He said Klein's work had an effect on me, and I thought about making art beyond the interiors that it is usually presented in. After an honorable discharge from the Army, he returned to Louisville to pursue his master's degree in painting, and much of the work at this time is figurative, bordering on abstraction. He was looking at many of the Bay Area figurative artists at the time, people like Richard Diebenkorn, David Park, and Nathan Oliveira. And he was working through these different types of abstraction at the height of the civil rights movement. Gilliam would organize sit-ins, pickets, and protests against segregation. On several occasions, he was arrested and jailed for nonviolent civil disobedience, all while continuing to make the art that he was interested in. He was dating Dorothy Butler, and the two would get married in 1962. She had just been offered a position as the first African-American woman reporter at the Washington Post. So they moved to DC for Dorothy's job, and Sam wanted to continue to pursue his painting career. He tried to enroll at American University to study under Robert Gates, but Gates didn't think he would benefit by being his student. So he tried being a teacher, and was turned down for a job at Howard University by James Porter. Porter told Gilliam he was too passionate a painter and suggested that he should teach high school, where he would have more time to spend in the studio and exhibit his work. Porter was influential in the African American art movement, and some historians have suggested that Gilliam might have been rejected because his work didn't fit neatly into an art movement that was becoming more and more political. But Gilliam took Porter's advice and started teaching high school, and this did indeed give him more time to pursue his career as an artist. He would have his first solo exhibition in 1963, and much of this work was representational, drawing inspiration from the places near his home. But there was one watercolor in the exhibition that was totally abstract. And when Thomas Downing, a member of the Washington Color School group of painters, noticed this abstract work, he told Sam it was the best one in the show. And so Sam began to fully embrace abstraction. During this time, he also participated in the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. But ultimately, Gilliam concluded that art making was at least as important as politics. He would continue laser-focused on abstraction, at a time when many said the style was irrelevant to Black American life. But Gilliam began to really embrace the Washington Color School, and began making what would come to be known as his hard-edged paintings. And although these paintings weren't always well received, they showed him starting to move beyond his peers. He was becoming more confident in himself as an artist, and willing to push the limits beyond just what everybody else was doing. He made these hard-edged paintings by taping off areas of the canvas, and then painting the uncovered areas. As his work progressed, he began removing the tape sooner and sooner, allowing the colors to begin to run together. It was around this time that Gilliam received an NEA grant, and he was also invited to have his first solo exhibition in a museum at the Phillips Collection in DC. This reinvigorated his practice and allowed him to continue experimenting. He sought to create paintings without a predetermined structure, and he wanted to focus on the physical process of painting. He started pouring paint on unstretched canvases and manipulated the canvases to move the pools of paint around. He would fold the canvas on top of itself to create what he called slices. And he would take these canvases and stretch them over beveled stretch bars. This would allow the paintings to appear as if they were floating off the wall or like painted sculptural wall reliefs. And this, in turn, led Gilliam in the late 1960s to remove the stretchers altogether. He would use rope, leather, and wire to suspend these paintings from the wall or ceiling. He cited many influences for these drape paintings, but the one I find most compelling was his desire to produce a work that was both painting and sculpture. And you can see examples of this work in some of the most important museums in the world. Here's his piece at the Metropolitan Museum. And this one is in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art. And my personal favorite, Double Merge at Dia Beacon. Certainly one of the most impressive drape paintings I have ever seen. And these paintings adapt with the architecture. They can be shifted depending on the gallery or room where they are presented. Critics and historians quickly identified Gilliam as a key pioneer in contemporary art of the era. And he has represented the United States twice at the Venice Biennale. That's the most important and prestigious contemporary art exhibition in the world. And his place in the art history books has been solidified. And this brings us to this. This is an untitled piece from 1996, so almost 30 years after those early draped canvases. As institutions outside of DC started paying more and more attention to Sam's work, he would occasionally revisit these older forms. So why is this here? And why am I here? This painting is actually part of an auction that's happening on February 17th, and from there, it will likely go into a private collection or possibly a museum. Hence the urgency with which I wanted to come see this piece. It's part of a larger sale being hosted by Black Art Auction, an auction house dedicated solely to selling works by African American artists. And if you're digging Sam's work, it's not the only piece by him in the sale, with prices ranging from a few thousand to, well, significantly more. And I'll be sure to put a link to the auction in the description below, so you can check out the more than 200 pieces on offer. You know I love talking about art, but this is fun, to be here with the piece, to be able to experience it, to walk around it. I also really like seeing things that are for sale, that you could potentially purchase and have in your own home. If you like this type of thing, please let me know down in the comments. You know I always try to be transparent, and we can talk about anything. Pricing, history, logistics, it's all on the table. To those that make it all the way to the end, I am always grateful, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next one. Ciao.